Hello, hello. Kent Brindley here. Avid vintage animation and action figure nerd. Avid vintage animation and action figure nerd, yes. We are going to have some fun today because I am revisiting. My other favorite toy line from the 1980s. Masters of the Universe. Got this great book here, The Toys of Masters of the Universe. Much better than the G.I. Joe guide I was using. Let's check this bad boy out here. It's one of the Dark Horse books, and just a second. You can't really make out that back shelf there, but it's a lot of the Dark Horse books, and they do a really great job of revisiting the Masters of the Universe line, be it for the animated series, the mini comics, or the figures, the toys. Oh, see, you even got She-Ra down there. You have the New Adventures of He-Man. It goes through classics. But I already did a video for my favorite classics figures. I want to look back at my favorite vintage figures. So, the Avid Vintage Action Figure and Animation Nerd presents Top 10 for my favorite figures from Masters of the Universe. Oh, it actually says He-Man and the Masters of the Universe to match the animated series. Let's check these bad boys out, shall we? If you saw the G.I. Joe video, or saw the Masters of the Universe Classics video for that matter, you know how this goes. I did a lot of thinking back to the vintage figures. Sadly, I no longer have them. And I picked out my top 10. Let's go. Number 10. Number 10 is always a nice place to start when you're doing a top 10. And we have a little problem getting to that page, apparently. Very close. We have Cyclone. Cyclone, yes. Heroic fist-flinging tornado. I loved this guy's extra action feature where he spun the little thing on his waist, and he obliged you by spinning in circles. He came with the shield. He had the radar sticker. He was just a really nice looking character. It was a great figure. I loved that. Number 9. Triclops. With a sword that at least rivaled the size of He-Man's power sword. But no, there's no way that it could have. But yeah, no. He-Man's sword of power would have still won in a duel. I digress. I loved the Filmation series. I loved the Filmation animated series. I still hold it up as the standard bearer. It really mistreated Triclops as a character. He was always, if he wasn't being second fiddle to Skeletor's plans, he was playing the secondary villain behind evil Lynn in a couple of episodes. Mike Young Productions, when they came along in 2002, tried to change that by making him an inventor and thereby giving Triclops his own role. Just never worked out. I think for filmation, they tried to make Triclops almost as physically powerful as He-Man, but it just didn't really come to fruition. I mean, there were scenes when Triclops almost overpowered him in battle, but that wasn't my take. If you would have given him a sword and made him almost like a pirate or something, or, well, he'd still be a spy, but made him a swordsman at least, it could have added some material for Triclops. Moving on. Alright. Was that number 9? That was number 9. Number 10. Mantenna. Yes. The evil horde was kind of a funny thing. Obviously they were She-Ra's enemies on the they were She-Ra's adversaries on the TV series. But the original Hordemen, Hordak, Leech, Grizzlor, Mantenna, Modulok, they were part of the Masters of the Universe line of toys, harkening back to the Horde's original plan to place a foothold on Eternia. My boy Mantenna. He was a great figure. He, obviously going back to the favorite classics figures, he was on that list. Very high up on that list. There is a story behind the figure of Mantenna. A neighborhood kid had the figure of Mantenna before I did, and upon spying that action figure, I simply wanted to play with it for a couple minutes. To wit, the neighborhood kid exercised the young owner's prerogative of going, "I don't think so. This could ruin young friendships." Until I got a figure of my own. See, happy camper. Happy little. Was I 3 or 4? I think I was 4. Happy little 4-year-old camper. No, I had to be 3. Happy little 3-year-old. Anyway. That's enough of that. As with all of the Hordemen, he came with a crossbow, and he had that great action figure where his eyes popped out. Where were we? Where was Mantenna anyway? Number 8. Apparently he's fallen a little on the list with age. Or there were so many great figures that I had to move him around somewhere. We've got to talk about one of the beasts. And I'm going to talk about Panther. Skeletor's Savage Cat. He had the fur on him. He had the saddle. All he was missing was the Battle Cat's helmet. He was a miscolored Battle Cat with fur. And Battle Cat is still definitely on the honorable mentions list as far as the beasts go. Save for one teeny little problem. He did not have a Cringer face. I mean, unarmored Battle Cat, I can show you in a second. I'll interrupt the list for an honorable mention since I keep talking about him. Wait a second. Oh yeah, battle armor. Duh. Huh. Where is he? Did I not find him? Okay, battle armor, Skeletor, battle cat. Yes. Yeah, look at that. Battle cat without his helmet on would be Cringer. That is not Cringer's face. No. Absolutely not. Anyway. Rant over. And that's what made Battle Cat an honorable mention instead of having him make the list. Number 6. I just talked about a lot of villains, didn't I? No, I went about halvesies so far, which is the way it ought to be. Mechaneck. Number 6. Mechaneck. He had that great action feature with his neck, and I honestly really wish they would have put him on. They would have used him more on the animated series because he was my favorite figure of the '84 line. It was he, Cobra Khan, Webstore, and Buzz-Off in the 1984 line where I really loved their figures. They were great. And I really wish the animated series had used them more often. Once again, that's another thing that Mike Young Productions did really well. And I'm trying to stay focused here on the toys. Mechaneck. You twist his waist, his neck pops up. He got a great classics figure out of this later on, obviously. Helps him to be the human periscope that they advertise him as. Number 5. Number 5, we're on the home stretch. Perfect. Number 5. Duh. Ram Man. Heroic human battering ram. With his hatchet. I guess it does call it an axe. Rammy was always one of the more colorful characters on the animated series. I mean, just his personality, his mannerisms, his action feature was great. He you can see it there. Oops, if I get my hand. Well, if it's not my finger, it's my arm in the way. There you go. You can see his feature, sort of. Good guy, though. The bracers on his arms tended to peel away. The paint tended to peel off of the gray part of his armor, exposing red. Oh, hey, there he is in action. Poor Skeletor. Yeah, poor Skeletor, my foot. He's the bad guy. Alright. Number 5, Ram Man. Number 4. We've got a tie in the number 4 spot. And you knew I had to talk about these characters eventually. We have we have our boy, Mr. Most Powerful Man in the Universe, He-Man. And we have I really wish I had kept the original figures. This would go a lot quicker. And we have Skeletor. He-Man and Skeletor tied for the number 4 spot of all places on this list. We're not talking about taking a poll. We are talking about my favorite figures. And it's not the last you've heard of the evil Lord of Destruction. Evil Lord of Destruction. Nor the most powerful man in the universe. You'll be hearing more out of them shortly. At number 3, we have we've got Battle Armor He-Man. Yes, Battle Armor He-Man was a great figure. He was one half of my very first figures I ever collected. And then at the age of 2, I chewed up the Power Sword and the Axe. And of course, the Battle Armor did tend to kind of chip and degrade over the years, and I never really could get the function to work right using my finger. Well, number 3. Number 2. Battle Armor Skeletor. You know, the part of the animated series is that you had to root for the good guys, but the toy line made Skeletor a much more colorful character, I'm afraid. So there's Skeletor, there's his Havoc staff. And you guessed it, that was the other half of my very first Masters of the Universe figures. I seem to recall chewing up the Havoc staff and the powers and his sword too, just to be fair. Alright. That was number 2. But wait, there's more. What would a top 10 list be without the honorable mentions? And I already mentioned Battle Cat. I already said Battle Cat. I have to give the nod to Evil Lynn and oh, perfect. She's close by. And Tila. I need to give the nod to them. They were both great figures. I guess Evil Lynn, I guess the color scheme on Evil Lynn has her win out a little bit. She's a little closer to making the list. I mean, the snake staff and the snake armor were cool, but I was watching the animated series long before I saw the figures, and that doesn't exactly match up with Tila. And the kind of jaundiced skin color versus just the flesh tone on Evil Lynn kind of gave her the nod. Sorceress. Yes, the Sorceress. Great figure. I never even knew she was in plastic form until many, many years later. Excellent figure, though. Oh. Screech, great figure. Great figure in Skeletor's colors. along with Zoar to match the sorceress's colors. Those were, yeah, the action feature just put the birds over the top, and that I really wish that Classics would have done the same thing, but they didn't. Extendar, he had a great action feature with the extending limbs, and he had a really nice shield there too. That red thing is a shield. The Horde Trooper, one of several favorite characters from the She-Ra series. Well, obviously the troopers were their army builders, but again, I might have been 9, 8 years old on an antiquing trip before I even knew the Horde Trooper existed in plastic form. Another great example. We've got Fisto and Jitsu. Once again, Jitsu comes a little closer to making the list due to his color scheme. He is a little darker colored. That is kind of cool to me. Huh. King Hiss, he's another honorable mention. Not Randor Hiss. That guy. Oh man. I think I was 2, 3 years old when I got the King Hiss figure. I saw his armor fly off. I freaked, so it had to be super glued on, thereby kind of ruining his action feature. Leech, another Hordeman, another great figure, another he had a great power though. He stuck to glass. He would hang there. Merman took me forever to find. He would have been a little better if he had matched up with his animated form, but yeah. Merman took me a long time to finally find in an antique store. Modulok with the Evil Horde. Wow. He took me the longest time of all to find in an antique store. Orko makes the list for a similar reason, but here he is. Orko. Yeah, Merman, Orko, and Modulok. Those were great antiquing days because I had never found them as a child, though I always wanted them. And we have to talk about Castle Grayskull and Snake Mountain as both really good play sets, really interesting. Snake Mountain might take home the prize once again. Again, animated series root for the good guys. The toy line, the bad guys got the better end of the bargain. Which reminds me, which brings us back to number one. Number one favorite Masters of the Universe figure out of all of these. Out of the original line, of course. You can see him. Trapjaw. Now, when I first got Trapjaw, it was an antique day. He didn't have his belt. He didn't have his accessories. But the arm where his accessories stick to already looked like a cannon, so we were in good shape. That was a great day when I found Trapjaw. An even better day when I could find his belt and his accessories. Yeah. Anyway, between Mattel for the toy line and Filmation for the animated series, someone had the power And this video has gone on for more than 25 minutes. If you have stuck with me for this long to listen to my top 10 list of favorite vintage Masters of the Universe figures, you have the power. And I thank you. Again, thanks to Dark Horse, not only for this book, but for the mini comics collection, the character guides, and the guide concerning the animated series. You have not heard the last out of me about He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. You may have heard the last of me about the toys.